Today's poll day, exactly. So just for our lesson, what I'm trying to do, guys, is I give us what's called guiding questions to start the lesson. And so what I want to ask you to think about before we start, some of it's revision, some of it is looking to the rest of the lesson. Do you know what input and output pairs are, and can you find them? Is the one guiding question I want to ask you. The other thing is, do you know how to build a rule for connecting an input and output pair? It's another question we're going to think about today. And do you know how to plot a visual representation of an input-output pair on number lines? Now, we will talk about this today, but just to give you a sense of where we're going. So someone said, zoom in a little bit. So this is just a new little thing I've added, just like I do Maths 24 to get your mental muscles strong. I think it's often good to know kind of like the rough map for where we're going. And you will notice some words that you've seen before. Okay, so in all the lessons, what we do is we like to start with an example. And so in the previous, this whole topic is called functions and relationships. And so there is a relationship between two things. In this case, there is an input X and an output Y. We've been learning about this for about 2 lessons. Now, I want you guys to try and fill in the missing spaces over here. I'll even give them letter names. Now, normally I would do this example for you. And if you would like me to do the example for you, I will. So just ask me in the chat. But I think for a lot of you, because we finished the last lesson with this, you'd like to almost give this a chance by yourself.
Teacher Peter, can we please have this one zoom? Is it in? Yeah, yes, like that.
Okay,
like
good.
that, please, so we can see.
So what I'm looking for is the values A, B, C, D, and E. If someone is really struggling, I want to ask you to just raise your hand or ask the question in the chat. But for the rest of you, I want to see, can you do this using what we learned in the previous lesson? And then I'm going to ask somebody to help us a little bit when we have a moment. Okay, so Fareed, I'm going to unmute you, ask you to ask your question. Go ahead, Fareed. Fareed, can you hear me?
Hello, sir.
Hi. What can I do for you? What's your question, Fareed?
So by the part that says X, can you please explain it to me? I don't understand it.
Okay, so the X is the input in the relationship and the output is the Y. It's almost like they make a little pair. So if one goes into the machine, okay, on the one side, let's say, if the 1 goes in, on the other side, the number -5 comes out. If the 2 goes in, on the other side, -3 comes out. Now, what we looked at in the previous lesson is we looked for a pattern and we saw that for each 1 unit increase, if this went up by 1, let's say it was going up by 1 each time, there'd often be a pattern below here. And I think what's happening is it's adding 2. So if you go from -5 to -3, you go up by 2. And it seems like in this question, each time I go across here, I'm adding 2, I'm adding 2, I'm adding 2. And so what students were doing previously is they were working out that the answer for this one here, it would be 3. And over here, it would be 5. And over here, it would be 9. So we would keep going up in 2s. However, it got a bit more tricky when we got to going to 10. And I'd love someone to maybe give us some guidance. Somebody can tell us, how do we get 10? Somebody just raised their hands. And then I'm just going to close my windows because there's a siren that's going off. Oh. Nothing like a siren to put you in the mood for maths. Okay, so Shanice, do you want to let us know how I would get the value that goes with 10? What did you do?
So
Yeah.
I added the same number that I keep on adding since -5. So the 10th value, so it's like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, and 21. So those are the values that I got, sir.
Okay, but now don't you think, Shanice, actually, how many times have I got? I went up by 2, but I think it should be 1, 2, so it's 8, 9. I think you need to go 3 hops from 7 to 10. I want to know, how do I go, like, how is the D influenced by that? That's what I'm looking for. Rebetswe, can you help me?
So are you looking for the easier way to find number T10?
Yeah, so I want
So
to know
we're
what
gonna-
goes with 10. Yeah.
We would use the constant difference,
Difference.
like,
Okay.
and then do 10 multiplied by 10 minus 7. Because to get -5, you have to
Yeah.
subtract 2 from 7, which gives -5.
Okay, I'm going to get there in a moment, but basically all we need to do is for each 1 unit increase in the input, we were going up by 2. But the problem is we need to go, if there was an 8 and 9 there, you can imagine this would be 11, then this would be 13, then this one over here is going to be 15. So the most important thing is if I leave out numbers for 8 and 9, I have to keep jumping up in 2s. And so that the 15 was what I wanted to make sure. Where did you get the 9 from? Oh, you're quite right. I made a silly mistake. Thank you so much for correcting me. If I go up by 2, I get to 7. And then I get 9, 11, and I get 13. Okay, so you get 13. Now, well done for spotting that. So even teachers can make little mistakes sometimes. But luckily, I have you guys to iron out the trouble spots. Now, Latabo, can you tell me how you would get the, if I just give you an X as an input, what is the output going to be? Latabo? Go ahead, Latabo.
Which is say 2 times 13.
Okay. So what I'm going to suggest is from the previous lesson, what we said was to get the output, we would go y equals, and we go, what is the number that we're going up by? And we write that number in front of the x. Okay, so it's going up in 2s. It's going to be 2x. However, this doesn't give us the right answer. And so what I need to do is, at the moment, if I left it like it was, what is 2 times 1? It's just 2. And I needed it to be -5. Because that's what I have over here. So how do I get from 2 to -5? Who would like to tell me? So Kevin, I'm going to unmute you if I can. Well, Kevin, you want to unmute yourself? How would you do it, Kevin? You want to unmute yourself?
I also can't unmute Kevin. I'm not quite sure.
Okay,
What's
it's fine.
happening.
So what I'll show you guys is to go from 2 to -5. The journey that you need to undertake is you need to take away 7. Yeah. And so my final formula, we're going to do another one of these because I can see we need more practice. The formula that describes how I go from inputs to outputs is y equals 2x minus 7. So let's just check that I'm right, because if I've made a silly mistake, it will come out now when I test it. So let's say that I use an input of 4. if I put the input of 4 into my rule, what will that look like? Well, I'll have to put a 4 over here. So remember, X was my input. And so in this case, we get Y equals 8 minus 7, which is 1. Now, the good news, guys, is that 1 was the output in the table and 1 is the output from my formula. So I'm going to go over this step with you, and then we're going to do another one. What were the key steps? The key steps were, okay, so actually in this up here, we'd say the output is just going to be 2x minus 7, or y equals 2x minus 7. The first thing we had to look for was something called the constant difference. And what the constant difference does is that if my input goes up by 1, it's how much my output is going to go up by. And in this case, the constant difference will always be the number in front of the x. But then once I've got my constant difference in front of my x, and the x, remember, is just the output, I then need to have a balancing term. And because if I stop there, if I stopped with just 2x, then my first term would have been 2, and that's wrong. The first term had to be minus 5. Okay, I think what we need to do is do another example, but let's just do a quick hands vote. Hands up, thumbs up if you feel like you sort of get this, thumbs down if you feel still very unconfident. Okay. Let's try it again. So in the second one, what's going to happen is you are given a set of input-output pairs. So they're in a relationship. Okay, so at the moment, if you put a 1 in this relationship, if you bring a 1 to the relationship, on the other side, a 3 will come out. Now, if you increase the input by 1 unit, it's over here, then 2, you get 2 on the other side. Now, what I want you to think about is in the last question, what did I do to help me fill out these blocks? And then can you figure out the formula over here that defines, remember, we're trying to define the relationship between the input set and the output. And we're using the letters X and Y to do this. If it's your first lesson with us, we have done 2 lessons on this already. So there's a little bit of revision. Okay, I'm going to give you some time now to do that while I wait. And then when you've got your answer, please put that in the chat. Okay, or if you would like to share how you did it with us, you can also raise your hand. Okay.
Let's go, guys. We can do this. We can do this one. Just remember, for all of you who missed the last classes, I've already posted the link today, but if you don't see that link, it's also on the website. Okay. So you can get all this nice teaching on the website.
Absolutely. Please zoom in because they can't see. Okay, how about that? So I see Charity has put an answer up, Plono has put an answer, and Kachelo, could you, don't give everything away yet, but if you could just give us, I'm going to unmute you, Kachelo. Could you give us the answer? What does you get goes with the input of 5? Could you tell me that? I've unmuted you, Kachelo. Do you want to let us know what your answer was? Okay, I'm going to move on to, are you there, Kachelo? Okay, I'm going to go to Warona. I think, Warona, if you could give us your answer for this, yeah?
So,
yeah.
For 5, it's going to be -1.
Yes.
It's going to be -2.
Yes.
And then it's going to be -3.
Perfect. Now, can you tell us, you've clearly understood this. What did you notice about the outputs? How did you generate those numbers so quickly?
You're going to subtract 1 from the previous number.
Okay, now, so we're taking away 1 each time. Now, could you tell me how that helped you build our basically fill out this last block over here? Could you talk me through, have you done that yet?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll give you a moment more. Well, I'm going to go to Amakle to maybe help me with how I built my formula. So Amakle, I'm coming to you.
So I got -1 n plus 4.
So we're going to go with at the moment, we're using x's as the input.
X. Okay.
So -1x. Okay, now, how did you know about the -1? Where did that come from for you?
Because you are like subtracting 1 from each number,
Yeah,
and
so
subtracting is negative.
Yeah, so you basically, your outputs were going down by 1 each time. Okay, what was your last step?
Pardon?
Did you have another step or did you leave it at that point?
I said -1 plus 4.
Okay, how did you know to add the 4?
Because like if you look at the first number,
Yes.
and you can't just say -1, you can't just
Yes.
say -1, and so you have to add.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. So
May I
basically,
please ask a question?
okay, who will be there in a moment? Who was that?
It's still Amahle. Amahle
Oh,
wants to ask the
ask a question, Markley, yeah?
So in an exam, if you have for like you corrected me, you said it's not n, it's x.
Yes.
In an exam, if you were not to write x and you were to write just n, would you still get the
Mark. Okay, so what happens is when we deal with number patterns, we normally use Tn and n. When we're just talking about general inputs and outputs, we use y and x. Now, it is a matter of deciding for the teacher. Most of the time, if they tell you to use x and y like they are here, like where they tell you the input is x, the output is y, you would generally give your relationship in terms of x and y. Okay. But it's hard to say, wouldn't definitely be wrong, but it normally you follow what they give you. Okay, guys. So I
Thank
hope
you, sir.
pleasure. So the answer here in the end here is just going to be -1x plus 4. And we can test that. So just to show you, we're telling you the truth. Imagine I take 5. If I go -1 times 5 plus 4, what will I get? Well, this is -5 plus 4, which gives me -1. And what goes with 5? It's -1. So the good news is my relationship is telling the truth, which is always good in relationships, tell the truth. Okay, so let us go to a second question, a bit more like the first. So over to you guys. And I want you to figure out this one first. It's a bit trickier, guys. It's a little bit harder. And then I want you to work out what is the rule which is going to be in this block. Over to you guys. I'm just going to turn the lights on in the background. It's getting a bit dark. Ooh.
Let's go, guys. Let's go. I'm rooting for everybody. Let's do this. Let's do this. It is hard, guys. I'm also like whoa, glitching, but let's do this. Let's do it.
There we go. Okay, so think about all the things we've done so far in the lesson and think about how you can reuse them as you do this question now. That is the key. Yeah, so if you're having audio problems, then what you can do is you can quickly log out and then log back in. That would be a good way of doing that. Sometimes there's something wrong with your computer or whatever, or your phone.
Teacher Peter, we are doing classes on holidays, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we carry on going through holidays. Yep, absolutely.
Just to squeeze in some other questions. Some students were asking, they say that they did the quiz, but it says that they didn't do any quiz on Thursday last week. So I'm not sure if there was some technical.
Some login issue, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have a look at that now. So as I look at this, I suppose I'm interested in what is happening in this relationship. Is someone being negative or someone being positive? It looks to me like it's going down in threes. That's what it looks like to me. And so the relationship, the fancy word we use in maths is descending, but it looks like we're taking away 3 each time. But now it gets tricky because I go from 4 to 10. And so part of me thinks, I wonder if I can just work out the rule at the very beginning. Instead of having to be like, okay, I need to jump 6 times. Why don't I try and work out the rule first? And then I can use the rule to help me work out what goes with 10. Because it gets difficult to count, like take away 3 again, take away 3. If I know I'm going to work out a rule to describe this relationship, surely I can work that out first and it can help me. That's what I was thinking. I don't know, you don't know what you would think, but it feels like, I don't know, it just feels like a mission to keep taking away 3 when I know I can figure out the rule.
Yeah, I definitely use your example on A on how can I figure out the rule, because I already know the constant and the constant difference. And then after figuring out my rule, then I used to find my term 10.
Kevin, you wanted to ask a question? Go ahead. I'm asking you to unmute if you are able to unmute. I don't know if it's, but your hand is up. Okay. It doesn't seem to be working. We're going to come to Warona.
So 10 is equals to -6. And then the rule is going to be y is equals to -3x plus 4.
Okay, let's just check. I agree with your -3, so everything's fine there. And then just to make sure we're on the same page, if I put a 1 in at this stage, and there was nothing else, I get -3. But what I really want to get to is I want to get to 1, and so that's why you've added 4. Yes. So that is going to be the rule. And then using that rule that you've just worked out, what you see is I'm going to say, okay, well, I'm going to use your rule to help me. And I'm going to say, if I put a 10 in, I get -30 plus 4, which gives me -26. And so we are getting quite good at defining the relationship between these inputs and outputs. Now, guys, I want to just ask you too, if we, at the very beginning of this course, we did something called flow diagrams. Could you draw me a flow diagram for this relationship? So if I asked you to draw a flow diagram, that we gave you a table, and now you've given it to me as a formula, but I just want to ask you, could you quickly draw me a flow diagram showing the relationship, this relationship? Just try and see what you can do. And then I'm going to ask someone to maybe help me. Remember, a flow diagram looks a little bit like this. It's almost like it has the two rules, and then it has sort of like the things going on the one side, and then the things coming out the other side. I just want to see, just test your knowledge. I want to take you back to lesson 1. Okay. And then I'm going to ask someone to tell me, how would I draw a flow diagram for this relationship? because this whole section is about different types of ways of representing relationships, and being able to do all of them is very helpful. Okay, who would like to tell me how to do a flow diagram of this relationship? Ayanda, let's do it.
Hi, sir.
Hello. How do I do it?
Sir, good in you, sir.
Very good, very good.
So, sir, in the two boxes, first one you're gonna put -3.
But not just -3. What do I have to do with that -3? What's the relationship between -3 and x?
Or that you times x by -3.
Yeah, so you're timesing by -3. So that's quite important. And then after that, what are you doing?
Then you put +4.
Perfect. Yeah. So if you then, and so for example, if 1 goes into this, I multiply it by -3, and then I add 4, and what do I get out the other side?
1.
Perfect. And if I put 2 in, what do I get out the other side?
-2.
-2. And if I put, mute all there. mute.
So please, if you pull.
Oh, there we go. So I'm just
Sorry,
going to
so that was Ayanda. So she was asking her background is just.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Don't worry, Ayanda. That's not a problem. So I'm just going to finish this. I'm just going to say 4 goes in. What are we going to get out? We're going to get out -8. Now, I want to ask you guys a sneaky question here. If I gave you, so on this side, this is the x's, or what we call the inputs, and on this side is the outputs. If I gave you -26 as an output, could you tell me the input that it came from? Who would like to tell me what is the input? If you imagine there's a flow diagram, but I only give you the y, the output. I want to know what it came from. Maybe could somebody tell me? Whose hand is up to help me? So Munibert, I'm going to unmute you if you could help me.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Do you know what goes with -26 as the input?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So, sir, you +4 to 26, and then you divide -26 to -3.
Yes. Okay. So you're going backwards. So I think I know what you're doing. So you're going backwards. Do you get as your final answer 10?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I agree with you. I was a bit sneaky though, because I actually knew that from the table above. So just to point out, guys, -26 as an output goes with 10 as an input. But what you were saying is one way of getting there is to go backwards. And so if we did go backwards, the opposite of +4 would be -4. So -26 -4 is -30. And then the opposite of times by -3 is divide by -3. And so I think that's what you were saying. You were saying I can actually go backwards by doing the opposite, which is correct. Okay, fantastic. Well done, guys. Okay, we're about to start let's squeeze in one more, because you know, guys, let's just do this and then we're going to take our break. So do this one for me. I skipped 3. Ooh, I did skip 3. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, over to you guys. Let's just do this one and then we're going to have a quick break. And Hassan has a question. So while you guys are working on that, Hassan, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Hassan, do you want to ask your question? I think I've unmuted you, or at least I've tried to.
I'm also trying on my side, but no luck so far.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine. Then maybe just put it in the chat. Okay.
Yes, everybody, you're allowed to put your questions on the chat. Okay, we can definitely attend to each and every single question. on the chat also. So let's do this, guys. One more example, and we're going to our break time. Let's do this.
I feel like I'm getting lazy. I don't want to count like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think I'm just going to go straight to the rule. And so I'm going to make sure I know how to describe this relationship properly. And then I'm going to use it to help me fill out both this and this.
So everybody on the chat immediately went to find out what's the rule. Well done, guys.
Well done. Okay, so it's going to be, I think a lot of people have spotted that it's going up by 2. But if I leave it as 2x, it doesn't tell me the truth. So I actually need it to be 2x plus 2. I can do a little check if this works. If I took 3 and I put it into this formula and I went 2 times 3 plus 2, I do get 8, which is what I wanted. Okay, so now I can use it to help me. And I'm seeing in the chat, lots of you are saying 26, because 2 times 12 is 24 plus 2 is 26. Yes. And over here, the rule is going to be 2x plus 2. So basically, the full rule is y equals 2x plus 2. If we had a flow diagram, we would have a times by 2 to start, and then a plus 2 over here. And then the x would be here, and the y would be there, the input, output. Okay, guys, you have been smashing it. It's time for a brain break. But today, okay, we're not going to do that yet. We are going to try and give you a riddle. So clear your brains out, stand up for a moment, and get some oxygen running through your body, and ask, can you solve this riddle? The point of this riddle is to find the triangle. And while you solve this riddle, I'm going to go get a glass of water. Okay.
Let's do this, guys. Let's do it. The pen and nose. What happened to the pen and nose? I like it. I'm so good at that game, guys. Let's do this. Let's solve this riddle.
Please don't do the pen and the nose thing. Well, I've got a new thing I'm working on.
But we're thinking alike.
Yeah. So in the chat, a couple of people have said that 2 circles are 5. Well, 1 circle is 5. Together that gives you 10. But remember, we're after this. Okay. What is a triangle worth in this universe? Now, there's a little bit of BODMAS, or, we have to think about what comes first. Let me put all my 5s in. So 5 times something plus something is 12. I agree. This is going to have to be a 2. Am I right? 5 times 2 is 10. That gets done first. Plus 2 is 12.
Yep.
And so now we're down to the last one. And the only thing we have to remember is that the multiplication gets done before the subtraction, because that's BODMAS. So it looks to me 5 times 2 is 10. Something times 5. I think, guys, the triangle is staring you in the face. Who knows what the triangle is going to have to be?
Guys, it's so close. Let's do this. It's exciting. Jumps. Come on, let's see who's going to get it right. Whoop! I see some answers there.
Okay, a lot of people are getting the right answer. So well done, guys. So what you are, yep, Imtiaz is certain. She's like, okay, it's 1. Yes. So 5 times 2,
Road.
10,
Sorry.
which means
Roberta wrote 1 everywhere.
it's like trying to get the message through. Guys, a triangle is 1. Okay, well done. Well done. Okay, I enjoyed that one today. It felt like it was a bit harder and it made our brains work a little bit harder. What I'm going to ask you to do, guys, is I'm not going to ask you to do any funny cross hemisphere things, but I just want you to stand up for a second and just stretch. Okay, so just show me your favorite stretch on the video. Just stand up. If it means a tricep stretch, if it means a touch your toes, whatever your favorite stretch is, I want you to do that. Cool. Imtiaz. Yes. I see you. I see you, man. Yeah.
Kevin, I see you.
Yeah, give it a stretch. Give it a stretch. What's your favorite stretch, Yolanda? I think
it's touching my toes, actually.
Touching your toes. So a hamstring stretch. I think, yeah, that would be mine too. I think I'm going to stand up for a second and just touch my toes.
Yeah.
Oh, you might hear a gunshot if I pull a hamstring.
Princess, I see you there. I see you. Let's see your stretch. Princess is stretching her face. She's like,
I can just stretch. Imtiaz, do you find the nose pen thing difficult? It's Imtiaz is like, he doesn't want to do the pen thing. Okay. All right. So let's go back to our lesson. So guys, back to your desks and let's fire on. So what we were doing is I want to look at something a little bit more sneaky, but I want to break it up into 2 parts. So the first part is, let's first understand the question. So the question says, consider the table below, and it wants you to work out this and this to start with. So that's first part. I think that a lot of the time, it's a choice. Working out what goes with 4 will be quite straightforward. No, I'll leave it up to you. But basically, the second part, which is a bit more tricky, is going to be to work backwards to find A and B. And so I'm going to help you with that in a moment. But let's just start by you guys working out what is the missing pair here, what is the missing amount here, and what is the missing amount. Let's not use A, let's just use like C. And what is the rule that goes with X? So I want you to work that out. And then we're going to attempt to work out what A and B was. So it feels like most students are getting that this is 6. So now the question is, what is this over here? Yeah. What's if I've given input of X, what's going to be the Y in terms of X? And this is what we were doing in the previous one. So it's something X and then another something. You know, and it feels like, because it's going up in 2s, I'm pretty confident that this is 2, but then I need to know what goes after that. So be careful, Micah, because if I put a 1 in as my input, so if I imagine this bit, if I put it into my rule, I get 2, and yet the output says I must be at 0. So what corrective action do I need to take? So Tando, be careful. Is it 2x plus 2? This is a bit sneaky. Aha, yes. So it's not going to be 2x plus 2. It's going to be 2x minus 2. And so in this bit here, the rule is just going to be 2x minus 2, or y is equal to 2x minus 2.
Well
Okay.
done, everybody. Well done,
Yeah,
guys.
but I deliberately did that, guys. I wanted to see. Now, we're going to be a little bit, there's two ways you can do this. I want everyone to try and work out what is the A value, or what is the input if the output value is 28. And I'm going to show you two ways how to do this. But before I show you, I want to just give you a chance to work it out. Now think about last time. What did we do? You can either use the equation method or you can use the flow diagram method. So how did you get from X to Y? And then how would you go backwards? Or maybe what you can do is you can say, I've got this relationship. Can't I sub something in for where Y is and solve for, what that thing over there is? I'm going to ask someone to come online and just give us a lot of people are saying something, and I want to get some. So Setu, I'm going to unmute you. If you could help us understand how you found out what A was.
So basically you're gonna take 28 and then you're gonna do the inverse operation, meaning you're gonna add 2 to 28 and divide it to 2.
Okay, so you started this and you said, okay, well, what I need to do is I need to add, am I doing it right? Add 2?
Yes, sir, and divide by 2.
Then divide by 2. And so you get 28 plus 2 is 30. 30 divided by 2. Did you get 15? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we
Wow.
got 15.
Well done, guys.
Yeah, so it seems like the flow diagram can be quite helpful in these situations. So we know that's 15. What is B going to be? Who would like to try and give us B? Luyanda. Go ahead.
So basically, sir, in order to get to your answer, you have 116. So you plus it by 2, and then you plus it by 2, and then you divide it by 2, and then you get 57.
Get 57. Now, some people are getting 59, so let's just check that I'm on the right. So we go 116 plus 2, which is 118, divided by 2. I get 59, huh? 59. Okay, so it's important to know relationships can go forwards and backwards. Now, I just want to show you guys something here too. If we didn't use the flow diagram method, we could have also used what I call the algebra method. So if I go back to the original one where I wanted to find out what A was, can you see that 28 is the Y value? It's the output. And what I could have done is I could have said 28 equals 2x minus 2. Now, just take a moment and see if you understand what I've done. This used to be Y, and I've replaced it with 28 because 28 is in my table. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve for the input, which is X. Now, we are doing algebra in the next module, but one of the ideas of solving equations is you try and solve for X by doing the same thing to both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 to both sides. And when I add 2 to both sides, this goes away and I get 30. Now notice, guys, what happens in our inverse function, we also started by adding 2. Now in the algebra method, we want to get rid of the 2 next to the X, so we divide by 2. And if we divide both sides by 2, we are going to get X is 15. So I think most students prefer using the method with going backwards, but I just want to show you that the algebraic method with an equation would also work here. And we may find in the next session that we will also use that sometimes. And I just wanted to throw that in to warm you up. Okay, so let us go to this one over here, getting a little bit more tricky, and I think we're going to end today with this one. So can you guys figure out the missing values? In fact, we're definitely finishing with this. So can you figure out what those missing values are? And then can you figure out what that is there and there? And then we're done for today. And it's been a good session, I think.
I agree. Well done, everybody. Let's do this. Only one more to go. Let's go.
Yeah. So, Kevin, what we need to do is we first need to find what output value goes with 4, and then we want to find what output value goes with X, or basically find the formula, and then we'll go from there. So Ayanda has said that basically you're going down by 4, and so she thinks this is minus 14, which I agree with. That is true. It's minus 14. Now, what is the formula going to be? Actually, wait, let me go to Fareed. Am I saying that correct? Could you help us with the formula, Fareed? I'm trying to unmute you. I'm not sure if it's working, but. Not working for some reason. I'm trying to unmute Fareed. Otherwise, Lydia, if you can unmute yourself, I'm trying to unmute you. Yes, Lydia.
This kind of equations, I don't quite understand them.
Okay, all right. So guys, what we're going to do then is we're going to pause at this point because I think a lot of students need a bit more help on this question. And so in the next lesson, we are going to start with this question, but let me just finish this little bit over here first, and then we're going to do a poll for tonight. If I want to get the rule, I always need to have this number that goes in front of the X and then something else at the end here. Could somebody tell me what that number is? I want to suggest that that number should be minus 4. Okay, it should be minus 4 because it's going down by 4s. Now, would somebody like to tell me what number needs to come after this in order to make the relationship valid? So, Imtiaz. Imtiaz, I tried to unmute you. Yeah.
Yes. I think it's minus 4x minus 2.
Yeah, that's perfectly right. Okay, minus 4x plus 2 does get me to minus 2. Now, guys, let's just make sure that we've got this. So if you imagine, just to check, so if we could just hit mute all there, Yolanda. So if I've done this correctly, I go minus.
Teacher Peter, I think I pressed the mute all and you got muted also. Sorry. Hello, Teacher Peter.
Hello, I'm back.
Yes.
Cool, thanks for that. So I get minus 4 for this plus 2 and then minus 2. So now, is that what we got on the table? Yes. When we put a 1 in, we needed to get minus 2. So guys, I'm going to pause there because I don't want to rush this. I'd rather finish this off in the next lesson. And I want you to fully understand it. Yolanda, if we could just do a quick poll of the students to see how they're feeling about today. I don't want you to worry about this question that's currently on the board. I will start the next lesson with it. No, a different poll, I think. That's the newcomers poll. So let's end that. It's the pacing poll. Yeah. Lesson pace. That's correct. Yeah. Okay. Cool. And so guys, if I could just ask you as we finish tonight, if you could just fill out that poll so that we have an indication of if we're going kind of the speed that is helpful for you, and then we will go from there. Okay.
Okay, so there's 2 questions while we're here, if you still have time.
Yep.
One question is about the the flow diagram. Another one is about the quiz. Why did they say that some students didn't do the quiz even though they say that they did do it?
Okay, that we'll have to follow up with various other folks. I'm not sure at the moment, but yeah. Okay, guys, once you filled up the poll, we're going to finish off the lesson, but thank you so much for your time tonight. I hope that was useful for you. And yeah, I will see you again on Wednesday. I hope that you have a good rest of the week.
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure, man. And then has everyone filled out the poll? They have, yeah. Okay. Fantastic. We can end the poll, I think, and then I'll pop the poll in the thing afterwards. Thank you so much, Yolanda. I'll see you in grade 11 in a moment.
Okay.
Cool.
Bye, everybody.